Live.
Hello, I'm Matt Bergman, and you are listening to the Punk Rock Libertarians Podcast, episode 243. I'm here tonight with Jared Schneiderman.
What up?
Philip Dassing.
What's going on?
And Kyle Wagner.
Hey, guys.
Hey. So, number one on tonight's podcast topics agenda is Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
So, what is the news in Hong Kong, Kyle?
I mean, I just saw a news story that had fires burning, so I guess the protests are escalating.
Did you see the video of the armored truck that was on fire?
No, I didn't. That might have been what I was referring to. Somebody just posted a link of something on fire.
Yeah, that was John Vibes posted a link of an armored truck that pulled up to, I guess it was one of the universities. And they just started hurling. I mean, it's hard to tell from the video, but something that's on fire. Could be Molotov cocktails.
I think they're shooting bows and arrows.
Really?
Yeah.
Bows and arrows.
Yeah, they're using
like
bows
flaming
and arrows.
bows and arrows.
Yeah, that's
Damn,
what they're
dude.
using.
That's badass.
So what do the protesters want? What would make them happy? Is it democratic elections?
Chick-fil-A on Sundays?
Yeah.
No, I think it. Well, there's. The people that are detractors are making it all about this extradition thing.
Mm-hmm. It's got to be bigger than that.
It's way bigger than that. It's more about, it's really just independence from China as far as being to elect. I think it's elect their entire cabinet, because right now it's 70-something% of the cabinet is Chinese.
Or is appointed by the Communist Party.
Exactly. Yeah. Not just ethnically Chinese, but appointed by part of the Chinese government, essentially.
Okay. So are they actually calling for an independent state or an independent country, or do they want to remain? I don't see how you can have it both ways. How can you have democratic elections and have basically total autonomy from China, but still call yourself part of China? You know what I mean? To me, you're either independent or you're not.
I think the ultimate end game is becoming their own independent state.
Okay.
But in their list of demands, I think it's just more, it's sort of like what America was doing in 1776, before 1776, when it was, representation, equal or, no taxation without representation. It's along those lines is what it sounds like they're asking for. They're not making any, it's not like, the yellow coats or whatever, the yellow jackets, whatever the fuck they are called. When they're we want minimum wage to be 20, there's no, I haven't found anything that sounds remotely socialist to me.
Okay.
Aside from democracy, but whatever.
Yeah, and I would argue, I would argue that democracy is a good thing. That's part of the, it's part of the classical liberal philosophy is democracy, the will of the people or the will of the majority. I know that Hoppe,
the tyranny of the majority.
Yeah, I know that Hoppe and others have talked about how it's so horrible, but Mises was an advocate for democracy, and he said that's the alternative to having revolutions, violent revolutions. That this is a way you can peacefully transition an unpopular government out the door. It's the people you no longer have the support of the people.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's where. Excuse me. I mean, a republic seems preferable to a democracy. Would you agree with that?
I think they kind of go hand in hand. I mean, we have
not necessarily though, because you can have some people advocate for a direct democracy, thinking that that will solve some of the ills that plague politics. But
would that entail just voting on every issue, or that's just not feasible? It's not feasible, obviously, to administer a city or a country. We can't vote on every single little ticky-tack thing. You end up electing the leaders, the lawmakers, and the executive, and then they sort of run
I haven't, to be honest, I haven't dug into the people that seriously advocate for that position, what their exact model looks like. Mm-hmm. But I think it involves voting on at least more serious things, like going to war or legalizing weed or things like that. If it's something like city ordinance number 5, should the bus stop at this zone? Obvious,
or
that sort
what
of
if
thing.
It's the city ordinance of is it cool to shit on the street?
Dude, hell yeah, dude. Rock on.
So Okay, so this is like so we talked about Hong Kong, and we talked about like what's going on in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Now I think I saw something the other day where it's like I think it was like the state's attorney in San Francisco said they're not going to be prosecuting people for public urination,
Right.
which I think is a good thing. But I've seen a lot of quote unquote libertarians or maybe conservatarians get triggered about that. Because I mean I don't think I don't think you should arrest somebody for taking a piss, but at the same time. It's like, I don't know. I feel like you could have a little bit of class about it, like, go behind a building or something.
Well, I mean, look, it's
it's
looking at the symptom of an issue.
You shouldn't be walking down the street, flashing your lightsaber and just like, squirting like,
Yeah, but you're talking about if you're pissing in the street, you're either just a drunk, like just drunk, right? You're just coming back from the bar, you're fucking piss ass drunk, and you decide I'm gonna pee in the alley. But like the problem in the city is the homeless population, right? So this is deeper. This is a deeper issue than like pissing on the sidewalk. It's the fact that you have such a large homeless population that can't piss anywhere else. Solve that problem. Like stop focusing on the fucking symptoms, which is like people pissing, like whatever. Criminalize that or not, it's not going to solve the problem. You're not going to stop it. A homeless person doesn't care about the law, right? A homeless person is just like surviving. And if their bladder gets full, it's going to come out, and it's coming out somewhere. They're not going to, and if McDonald's isn't going to let them come in and piss in their restroom, which that's McDonald's right, where the fuck else are they going to piss?
Yeah,
they're not, if you're a homeless person, odds are you're probably, statistically speaking, you're probably mentally ill. So you're really not thinking in terms of like social graces. You're not thinking like, well, it'd be nice. I get like I can't go in his bathroom, but maybe I tuck myself back in the alley in the corner where no one's gonna care. No, they're just gonna pee out on the street.
Pee is really the least of our issues here, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of like homeless people using the McDonald's restroom, I was like earlier I saw on like the Tim Pool's podcast, he was talking about apparently like it's been found out that. Since Starbucks made their rule, like you don't have to buy anything to stay in the store, and anybody can use the restroom. Apparently, like they've actually lost business since then. So it sounds like what's happening is people will just walk by a Starbucks, right, and then they'll see like so many people in the Starbucks, and they'll be like, "Oh, it's too busy. I'm not going in."
Right.
And then like a few of those people are just not even. They're just like mooching off the Wi-Fi, dude.
So their idea was like, oh, if we just let people hang out, eventually they'll just buy something. Was that like their idea, or just like they just want to be friendly?
I think this was another case of woke capitalism, where like it just seemed like left-leaning people were just like really pissed for some reason. Like they feel like everybody has a right to Starbucks' Wi-Fi and restroom.
Well, there was an incident,
and Starbucks seems to cater to those people. There was the incident too, and Starbucks seems to cater to those people. I guess that's their whole point.
Well, I
think their whole point is to make money.
Yeah,
right.
Just making a joke.
They want customers, right? So they want to be PC and they want to keep people happy.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like all these companies just they miscalculate how many of these people really exist. These like woke people.
Yeah. Like
the average consumer does not care about some fucking story about a black guy that was like loitering, getting like thrown out. But they see on social media, like, this story's everywhere. We got to react. Instead of being like, I don't know, maybe we just look at the policy, see if the policy is fair, see if it was applied correctly. And if so, then we just keep the policy, and whatever happens, happens. The shit will die off. Like, the news cycle, moves very quickly. It's like you don't need to be so reactionary all the time. And now, look, it's hurting their bottom line.
Did South Park did an episode about homelessness? I think it was years ago. The city got overran with homelessness. Yeah, and I think in the end of the episode,
it was like a Walking Dead thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, Cartman was like jumping them on a skateboard or something like that.
I thought there were hippies that he was.
No, that's when he like drilled into the center of like the Coachella thing.
Yeah, that was the hippie one. But there was a homeless one where like Randy was like asking for change. Remember that? He was like, I think it was the same episode. But anyway, the ultimate solution was they found out this other town had sent the homeless from there to South Park. So the solution that the kids had was like to get them to go to somewhere else, and they sent them to San Francisco. So it was like kind of very like.
Well, that is what happens. So they're in their defense, they do deal with literal busing of homeless people.
Yeah,
into
but
their
they
town.
encourage that. You get a stipend of like $70 a month just by living in San Francisco. You just show up.
Do
and,
you
like,
really?
But yeah.
I never heard of that.
Yeah, my cousin was a
crazy.
huge homeless activist. He was on the city council. He was even mayor for a while in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And he started that.
Yeah, well, he didn't start that, but he went there specifically for that as a homeless rights person, and he's big progressive, and he ran under those type of things like homeless people need adequate housing, and it's just like we should put a cap on how much we should charge for rent and blah blah blah, and it's just a problem they welcome. Like they were like, no, we'll take you guys in, and then now they're overrun with homeless people in these shanty towns. And while like there's now a huge divide between the mega rich and the homeless there, and it's like you brought this onto yourself.
Yeah.
That's why you notice like you can't like Stossel just did a thing about it too, I think.
Was it on Reason? Like
I think so. Yeah.
On social media, right?
Mhm.
I got to check that out.
Yeah. It's fucking ridiculous.
Well, I was arguing with Lee about it actually just earlier today. He was saying like we should give homeless people a house, give them a free house.
Wait, Lee Tark was saying this?
No, Ali.
Oh,
yeah.
I was like, what?
And I'm like, they would just sell the house because they don't have an income to keep up the house and pay the cost of having a house, and you still need an income for food. So like, in my opinion, they would take the asset and exchange it for money.
This whole idea of like housing is a right. Like, do you understand like how much money goes into a house? Like, I just had to drop like $600 on like a fucking sump pump the other day.
Dude,
Like, who's gonna pay for that if you're just giving people houses? Like,
Jared,
who the fuck is gonna pay for that?
dude, did you just fart again, dude?
Yeah, dude, I'm ripping major ass.
Crazy, dude.
I have a barrier.
Sorry, dude.
I burp.
Matt's,
My burp sometimes.
It could be a burp fart. combo.
Matt's like the barrier
wait,
between
deadliest.
Jared, why do Phil's burps smell like your semen?
Dude.
Why do you know what his semen smells like?
Yeah.
As soon as I said that, I knew I was setting somebody up. I was like, okay, let's see if they get this.
I get it.
We passed it. We passed the test.
Yeah.
So aside from Hong Kong, there's a bunch of other stuff going on. It's like I feel like there's a lot of unrest all around the world right now. You got Bolivia, Chile, Venezuela, Iraq. It's a crazy time right now.
Okay, Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay, check this, dude.
Check it.
I'm just curious, like, what do you think about this, dude? So, say Kyle owned, Wagner's Waffle House, right?
Okay.
And
Wagner's Blue Waffle.
and
House.
then, like, you had like a Wi-Fi set up in there too, because you want to make your customers happy, and you want to like entice people to go in there, because most of the businesses have Wi-Fi and shit,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, say people were going into like Wagner's Waffle House, and they're plugging in their laptop,
Well, now we know
they're
what the
plugging
title
in
of
their
the show
cell
is.
phone,
Yeah.
and then they're asking you for like extra outlets so they can like plug their vibrator in the charge, or what other shit that they have, and then you ask them like, well, can I get you some waffles? And they're like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
You know, like would you let them stay in there? Like,
No, but I think it's like, bathrooms are for customers only kind of policy. Like, it's not, I don't want the store overrun with freeloaders. I mean, Starbucks, that was their choice to base their business around. We invite people to stay here and sit here all day and hang out and use our Wi-Fi, and hopefully they buy a thing or two while they're in here. But, that wouldn't be my business model. I would be like, the facilities are for customers. I might offer free Wi-Fi just to make it a place where people are more likely to come, but it would be for customers. You can't sit in my restaurant all day taking up a seat that could be for a customer when you're just sitting there not buying anything.
okay, so what if Kyle owned a music store, right?
Okay.
And if somebody came into your music store, right, and then like put out like one of those like speakers that like connects to their phone, and then started like playing this song, right?
Mhm.
And then put it on repeat over and over again, and then they plugged into like they plugged a bass guitar into one of your bass guitar amps, and they just played the bass line to that song like over and over again for like 2 hours, like really loud. Like, what would you do about that?
Sounds like a personal experience.
Yeah, this sounds a little. Yeah, I mean, I think it's up to the manager or somebody with some authority to ask them to, that's enough.
No, yeah. It's I don't know. Yeah, it just seems like it seems kind of like ridiculous. I don't know.
It is ridiculous. It's totally rude. It's totally inconsiderate. I mean, I've been in guitar stores before, and people they're testing out the instruments, but it's not for a 2-hour jam session. You know what I mean? Like, you can play for 5 minutes.
Let me ask you this though. And be honest. When you're on like a road trip and you stop at a rest stop, or not even a rest stop, but you stop at like a McDonald's on the side of the road, and to take a shit, right, or to take a piss, do you always buy something when you go in, or do you just go in and then take a shit and then dip?
It's not, I have in the past gone in, used the facilities, and then left.
Yeah.
And I do feel bad
I'm sure
about
I'll do
that.
it again. But you know what else I'm
But
sure
you're also
of?
not hanging out there for 2 hours.
Okay, you know what else I'm sure of? I'm sure that I will also buy like way more Big Macs than shits that I will ever have at McDonald's.
True. Yeah, that's a good point.
So I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it's totally like there are totally like a couple different sides to this argument, you know.
I think more of it is though. Sorry, I keep.
Well,
interrupting. Keep
if somebody doesn't have a house, you know, where are they going to shower?
Right.
You know, and yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know, man. If you were homeless, or if I was homeless, you know, maybe we'd be trying to do that at McDonald's too. You know,
right?
Where are the homeless going to number?
And that's
three?
my point is like, the problem is like you have a homeless problem. It's not like people like regular people are just pissing on the street.
Yeah.
So like, well, what are we gonna do about this? It's like. No, you have a fucking crazy homeless population.
well, you know, like I know I
deal
read
with that.
I read sometime in the past couple of years. I think there's like 10 vacant houses for every one homeless person, or maybe I'm getting the number
Yeah, like
exactly
what commie
wrong.
came up with that stat?
But
But even if that's true,
I
if
mean,
that's true, it goes back to what we're saying about upkeep for a house is expensive. Like,
yeah, but I mean, it's still frustrating to know that there are multiple houses for every homeless people like that are vacant. It's still a little frustrating to think about, right?
I seriously doubt that that's correct.
That's
or
not
if it is,
proportionate.
like, it's not where they want to be, right? Maybe there's a vacant house in the middle of nowhere.
With no roof.
But you can't just take a person that's living in the city and drop them into the middle of, like, the rural area and say, well, we gave them a house. That's not going to work. It's where is the house?
And another thing you're going to run into is the commies are also going to come up with, people have their house on sale for like a year and it's vacant, you know, so that should be taken and seized and someone should homestead that or whatever. Like you'll hear that from like leftists
Well,
and
that's
shit.
the other thing. It's someone's asset, right? It's somebody's property that they're intending to sell. Presumably, like you're not usually just sitting on it. You have to pay property taxes.
We'll say,
so
exactly. Let's be real. Some of these houses are confiscated because they couldn't pay their tax bill, and so now the government owns them and just lets them fall to shit.
Well, that's a good point. You have a lot of state and city-owned houses.
Yeah, actually, just earlier today, I saw this. Like somebody made a map, right, of I believe it was Detroit, and it was like all the red spots were places where the state had seized people's land for not paying their taxes.
It was like nothing but red.
Yeah, dude, it was like this sea of red, dude.
Yeah,
So like there's that too.
right, exactly. Well, there's also that, and there's zoning laws that prevent people from like building and.
Well, same thing. That's what we're going back to San Francisco. That was in the piece by
Yeah, the zoning laws are really bad.
They were like, notice how none of these buildings are big, or they're no more than like 3 stories high because they have restrictions saying that they can't. So you can't put in like 6, 7-story high rises to house more people.
Right.
So it just drives up the price of the housing that's already there.
Mm-hmm.
It's already a very expensive area because of all the tech companies around there. And it's such a weird dichotomy where you get all these like really wealthy tech employees mixed in with a bunch of homeless. It's like it's strange. I mean, it's California for you, right?
It's like the super rich and the super poor.
Yeah, they all want to live together, like in the same area.
And then
It's
San Francisco
bizarre.
said sure.
Yeah, but I think I would get rid of minimum wage for starters because some of these people like. They're not going to be able to get a $15 or even $10 an hour job. They might be able to get a $7 an hour job, but right now that's below minimum wage. So, that little bit of income would be useful to them. And then I'd get rid of the war on drugs too, because a lot of them are addicted to street heroin
And marijuana.
Yeah, and they're obviously heavily addicted to marijuana. So no, I think it's heroin for the most part. That's the problem, And that's going to keep you homeless when all of the money that you managed to scrounge together goes into heroin. But anyway, ready for the next topic?
I'll pack it up again, dude. Hold on.
Oh, sweet, bro.
We're getting distracted here.
Sorry, I just wanted
someone's
to.
fulfilling their marijuana addiction over here.
Yeah, you got me jonesing, bro. Me who smokes like once a month.
Yeah, so Maj, there's some drama with Maj.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit last week, but it kind of came to a fever pitch.
It came to a pitch, and let's see, somebody, was it Hayes? Daniel Hayes.
He's the guy who runs the National Convention.
Yeah, He said, I have his post here. He said, earlier today, I made a unilateral decision to rescind the invitation to Maj Touré as the keynote speaker of the 2020 Libertarian National Convention. I called him and informed him of this. I did so without a formal vote of the Convention Oversight Committee, which I chair. Any issues arising from this action lie solely with me. I can claim writing on the wall relative to others, but the reality is I did this. If the members of the COC or the LNC care to ask for my resignation because of my actions, I will promptly deliver it. I think no good comes of this, and I wish Maj all the best in all that he does. So Maj responded by leaving the LP, quitting the LP. So it's been a lot of drama. Julie Borowski made a good post about how there's people think women are dramatic, but like they just haven't met the men in the LP because of all the drama in the LP. So I thought, interesting development.
Yeah, to me this is I don't know. I think Hayes is trying to make himself look like a martyr, where he jumped on the sword because he didn't want the committee to have to vote on it. He wanted just Maj gone, and he knew it was gonna be a blemish on the LP. Or I think that's what he's trying to convince people of. But he pulled the same shit. Remember we talked about this a while ago, Ron Paul, about the drama that went on between I forget. The details are so fuzzy. But last convention where they had Ron Paul was supposed to speak, but then he canceled on him or something like that.
Yeah, I do remember where the Mises Caucus had their own separate event.
Yeah, they
down
had
the street.
Yeah.
It was like. They wanted to host some sort of party thing, and they wouldn't fit it in with the convention schedule, and I forget all the drama. Michael Heiss could tell you exactly what it was, but
Yeah.
I actually did go to their event, which was sponsored by a bunch of Bitcoin companies, and I had a good time. It was interesting. It was a lot of like Mises speakers.
Right.
As opposed to LP speakers. But it was weird because it was like, you're right down the street. You're all LP, but you got to have your own separate event.
Well, it was because they wouldn't let Ron Paul speak.
Okay.
So they had Ron Paul speak at their thing. And
I don't even remember him being there. Was he?
He wasn't. No,
He was
Ron
on
Paul
video.
wasn't. He sent a video.
Message. Yeah.
So it's just this guy. I don't know. He sounds really fucking shady as shit. And to me, this all stems from a video where Maj and Hotep Jesus were what's that? There's some media guy who's like really like racist black guy, and he apparently something. See, I don't know. There's some details I don't have that I'm looking to get a hold of, but for the most
called
part,
make assertions, dude.
Hotep Jesus.
Assertion
Well, the video it shows Hotep Jesus and Maj Touré and like a few of their friends. They're talking the video, and Maj is like, "If I see you again, I'm gonna punch you in your face" or something like that.
Oh.
And then Hotep Jesus goes and he was like, "Yeah, we're the new white supremacist motherfucker," and they're all going like this with the OK symbols, just trolling this guy because this guy was just apparently from what one account was something I heard was he like doxed one of like his kids or something like that, or
One of his own kids?
Yeah, like Maj's kids, I think, or something like that. I don't know. The details are so fuzzy.
All right, thanks for the update, Phil.
Yeah, and I think what the main, so they saw that and they were afraid of it, and then like they dug up some tweets from Maj from like 2012 where he was saying like faggy or something like that. It just
Well, okay. I still think that Daniel Hayes should have had a vote with the committee rather than making a unilateral decision. But
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't speak politics, but I just don't understand why that is a good idea. Like,
to just do something.
yeah, just like,
on
well,
your
I knew
own?
this was going to happen, and I'm just going to fall on the sword, even though he knows like everyone else is going to support it. Like, it doesn't make sense.
I mean, you have a committee to plan these things, and
Yeah.
it's like the national convention, and I think he just should have gone through that. I don't think he
Yeah.
should have rescinded Maj's invitation on his own. It's insulting to Maj to be like, I'm going to invite you and then disinvite you.
Right. They made him the keynote. They know who he was, and they made him the keynote speaker.
Yeah.
So you did that. You did that decision. You know exactly who he was.
Yeah, I mean,
To
if you had a problem with him, you should have done your due diligence ahead of time, right? You should have done your fucking tweet digging and your fucking
Right.
YouTube scanning, and you
And-
should have figured out.
Here's another thing that we didn't talk about, but Lincoln Chaffee paid his lifetime membership to the LP. So looks like he's running for president.
Who's that guy?
He was the former. He ran against O'Malley and and Hillary Clinton last election cycle. Like he ran.
I don't remember that guy at all.
Yeah, exactly. But he's a big enough name where they're like he already has all the pragmatists.
He's the Nick Shark Week pick of the week.
Yeah, he's like Star Wars. He's like a Star Wars type of like Bill Weldian, but of a Democrat.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, and everyone keeps touting, well, he voted against the war. Sorry, like that doesn't mean you should be the run for president of the LP, you know.
So is this going to be like the new Well, I don't know that
He's
Star Wars.
Wait, how did he vote against the war? Where was he a congressman from?
I forget. I think I want to say like Illinois or something.
Like the Iraq War? Or did he?
Yeah, the Iraq War. Yeah.
Okay.
An Illinois Democrat?
He was a Democrat, then he was a Republican. Or no, he was a Republican, then he became a Democrat. Now he's become a libertarian.
Okay. So he's probably a Johnny-come-lately looking to challenge Trump through some backdoor way. And he's going, what third party can get me on the ballot against Trump?
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
And so, like, this whole thing with Maj, and I think this is now kind of, like, I had a conspiracy theory. This is why Nick Sarwark showed up at the Mises event last week, was because he knew they were rescinding Maj, and he had to do something to save face and kind of distract from it by personally going to his, to Mises event where he's like in a room full of people who hate him, and personally invite Ron Paul and like kind of swallow all that bullshit.
I don't know what his agenda was there. I thought that was a very strange move because
the timeline adds up to them rescinding it with Maj.
Yeah.
I was wondering if maybe he just like listened to his debate with Dave Smith a whole bunch of times and was like, "Oh my gosh, he's right."
It's like
I
I sound like a piece of shit.
I don't know.
I doubt that.
Yeah, I doubt it. So I think he might have known something and might have known that the LP might take a hit with pushing Maj away like that. Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know exactly the extent of that, but I know now, like, it was this guy, Andy Craig. He was behind a lot of this. He's the one who personally dug up the tweets of Maj. Him and Adam Bates have gone so hard against Maj, Trey. And it's funny because this also brings up a point. Michael Heiss brought this up too. He's like, these people preach, diversity. We need diversity and inclusion. But Maj is who I work with a lot of people who do work in the middle of Baltimore or who live in Baltimore. I work with a lot of people, and Maj comes off the same way. It's just that's the way he talks, and and it reminds me a lot of the people I work with. And like, this is just who these people are, and that's what Maj is. He's genuine. Like I've said it 1,000 times. Like, I was very skeptical of him at first. And then more and more I remember you saying that. I liked him, and we had him on the podcast here. He was who he was without the cameras rolling, without recording. And, we weren't a constituent, we weren't voting for him. We were not in his district to vote for, yet he was still being him. And it felt like it was genuine. And so that way, to me, like, he's genuine. So he does, whether you think so or not, he's more representative of these people in these inner cities that you tout and think that we should include and protect. And
well, the reality is these people that are in the inner cities are as diverse as the people that are outside of the inner cities, right?
Right.
They're going to have different, they're not all like, they're not SJWs, right? I mean, they're going to maybe have some racist views. They might have some, slightly, non-PC views about things. Should we not target anybody that doesn't pass the 100% purity test of tolerance,
Right.
Like,
and I feel like there is some type of like, well, we want black people in the party, but we don't want those type of black people in the party. And I feel like that's the mentality of these guys. And
what do you mean those type of black people?
But
Phil?
I mean, isn't it easier to get somebody
Craig.
into your into your group and then be like, "Hey, I heard you don't really think gay people should be getting married, but here's some other ideas."
Right. And
isn't it easier to reach people that are already like in your group with you that have already invested in that than to like just go and be like, either A, cast them aside and then they're never going to change, or B, like, just broadcast this message out to everybody and no one's going to be receptive because they're not even hooking onto you for any reason at all,
I get that because I think there's a lot of, I mean, if you read the tweets and you just hear the way he talked in this video, like, this is how like my coworkers talk. Like, this is how people that I know who are from the city, this is how they talk.
Right.
This is how they interact. They say some pretty fucked up things, some racist, sexist, quote unquote homophobic. Like, that's just their normal, like, that's the way they talk. It's just that's normal for them.
Yeah.
And I think Maj represented a lot of that, which he was different in the fact that like he's for gun rights and stuff like that. But he really could speak to a lot of people that were maybe not be as receptive to say my fat ass is going down there and be like, hey guys, you should look into libertarianism. Have you guys, what do you guys think of liberty? Hey
guys.
Exactly.
Dave Chappelle, white guy voice. Hey guys.
Right. Exactly. And I really think that by them pushing away, it's just like, well, we don't want your type of black people. We want the woke black people in this party. And
maybe they want a progressive.
It came off to me. Yeah.
They want a progressive is what
like
they
want. A
left-leaning guy.
He's not. And it blows me away. It's like they made so many excuses for Bill Weld saying all these things when he got the nomination for vice president like 45 days after he joined the party. And he knew nothing. And like the one thing they tout, like Nick in the debate, he touted about how, Bill Weld started getting more and more libertarian as he would talk, and he grew and became libertarian during his candidacy or when he was running.
I don't know
during the
about that.
campaign. That's what they were saying, and I think I'm like, why don't you extend the same thing to Maj? Maj might become more libertarian the more he's with the party. And
So are you saying that some people say that Bill Weld is a grower, not a shower?
That's exactly what I'm saying. So I think they don't want to. They just know his association. He's getting too friendly with the Mises Caucus. We don't like those Mises people. He can't go. He can't be here.
I thought that Nick should have all along been more receptive to the Mises Caucus. It's like you have all this youth and energy and these people who are excited about the LP, and instead of kind of like building bridges, you're creating antagonism. So it may have been a ploy, but if it wasn't a ploy, I was glad to see Nick like be more receptive. It was kind of cool to see him shaking hands with Ron and standing in front of the Mises banner, and
it
would have been like
Nick liked my post in the Maryland Libertarians group.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and I was like, this isn't time to be for cynicism. Like, a wrong has been righted, and we should applaud Nick for doing the right thing.
Oh,
and he liked it. Yeah, he liked it. I was like, oh, I didn't even know you're in this group, bud.
I don't even know if I'm in that group.
Is he just in every libertarian
Maryland
group?
MD Libertarians?
Dude, is he in
MD? No, I don't think I am.
No, but Dave Smith is in our group. And
really?
Yeah, he just added me. He added me as a friend. Finally.
Wow, dude.
Ooh,
I know.
Well, I guess I'll just add anybody, huh?
But he wouldn't add Philip. He added Otto, but he didn't add Philip. He was like, he sat on my friend request for like a year.
Yeah.
On Philip Dassing, but I guess Otto's more.
Wait,
of a
did
badass.
he request you or you requested him?
I requested him. But he would reach out to me.
Dude, that's what I thought you were saying. I was like, damn, dude.
Heard you on PRL, man.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm a regular listener.
All right.
With Roger Stone. Speaking of which,
Yeah, Roger,
our
boy Roger,
he got convicted of what did he get convicted of?
Who framed Roger Stone?
Yeah.
He got convicted of lying to Congress,
and
intimidating
a
like
witness.
6 or 7 different things?
Huh?
Wasn't it like 6 or 7 different things?
Yeah.
I think the main bullet points were lying to Congress, which isn't a real crime, and then intimidating a witness, which probably is a real crime.
I think it was Dan McAdams said something too. It kind of blew me away. He was like, "Isn't that freedom of speech? Like, shouldn't that be under lying to the government? Isn't that like freedom of speech?"
I mean,
because
you
the
could
government
argue,
can't silence you for saying. You could say whatever you want. You could say, "I'm the sun god who owns the moon," and in front of Congress. Even though you're not, could they put you in jail for that?
Yeah, I mean, because it's like I don't know.
Well, I guess they would say it's like fraud, right?
Is lying to Congress different than lying to like a judge?
Apparently not.
I mean, like, do they swear you in before you speak to Congress, or what?
They swear you in, but
what? I mean,
what? That means nothing.
Well, I mean, so in the current paradigm,
didn't Bill Clinton lie to Congress?
Yeah.
That's why he got impeached. Yeah,
but he didn't go to jail. But
you
Roger
can't.
Stone's
You
going
can't
to jail
go
for years
because you can't go to jail
if
you're
he
the president.
Is he like how long do you speculate Roger Stone will go to jail for?
I'd say he's going to be getting there until Donald Trump pardons him his last day of presidency.
Oh,
you think?
Donald Trump's going to pardon these guys. All these people who are in jail right now he's going to pardon every single one of them the last day of his presidency. I guarantee it. I'll put any amount of money on it.
Did you hear did you pardon all those war criminals?
Yeah, dude, he loves pardoning war criminals. God, fucking Donald Trump, he is so fucking obnoxious. Every single time you laugh and think he might get it this time. No, he's sending people to guard oil in the fucking Syrian desert for no fucking reason. Pardoning war criminals, giving quote unquote cash to farmers from the tariffs.
Cash.
cash, man.
Cash money. He should have just said cash money.
He's like JG Wentworth.
He's making it rain, dude.
8777
877 cash now. It's like, dude, fuck, God, like Donald Trump, man. I fucking hate him, but like, I don't hate him for the reason these other crazy ass people do. It's like, so annoying.
It's a weird thing too, isn't it? It's like you want to be like fuck Donald Trump, but you don't want to fuck Donald Trump. Say fuck Donald Trump for the same reason all these fucking crazy.
Yeah, I don't want any of these pink
TDS
pussy
people.
hat wearing, half men, women looking people, and like, yeah, you tell them.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want you on my side. You don't represent. Like, ugh, I don't know. But then at the same time, you're like, well, because this impeachment's not going to stop the things that we don't want,
Right.
right? Because here's what it's incentivizing. If he was impeached for war crimes, that would disincentivize other war crimes being committed by other administrations in the future.
Right.
But now they're being discouraged, like, well, don't challenge the deep state because then you'll get impeached.
So it's crazy how no president has been impeached for war crimes.
Right.
It's all been like lying to Congress.
Right.
Or like breaking into like some fucking building and like stealing like videotape or audio tapes or whatever.
G. Gordon Liddy, man.
Yeah. Like that's what they're getting impeached for. Like these fucking like, I mean, yeah, technically crimes, but it's like, who gives a fuck, dude?
But are they?
It was
like
like
this
that whole
impeachment's falling apart. Like it's straight up falling apart in front
Is
of it. I mean, what's coming of it? When every single time, remember, when's the last time you heard of
Well, I can
Russiagate?
tell
When
you-
was the last time you heard anything
I mean, I
about
can tell you
Russiagate?
the Republicans aren't being convinced of anything.
Well, of course not. They're never going to be convinced. Even if the truth was right in their face, they still wouldn't be convinced.
I mean, I feel like there are certain things that maybe might shift the political ones where they're like, we stand to lose more by keeping them in. Like they have no loyalty to the guy, right? I mean, if the wins
They do.
to what Donald Trump,
Yes, they absolutely do.
like legit loyalty.
Because they backed him for running for president. They backed him. They all supported him. He's got the
Right, but
R
that's
next
not-
to his
I-
name.
I- but
they
I
have
mean-
to go down on that ship.
But what I'm saying is there can be overriding political forces that enter in the equation where it's like you do the calculus and then you're like, well, it's not in our interest to support. I'm saying as a person, like as a person, they don't have any loyalty to him.
I think they have to, even if it's fake, they have to show their loyalty to him now, because if they don't,
Maybe
it'll show
so.
them banning the president,
My
banning
point-
a fellow Republican president. They can't do that.
My point is that there isn't anything that's clearly. I mean, look, if the guy was like found that he murdered somebody,
yeah, then like
Then-
when it's
then,
something
yeah.
like, wow, we didn't know that.
yeah,
like that's
what I'm
terrible.
saying. That's
But
what I'm
there-
saying.
Like I'm sorry, any Republicans like, oh, there was gossip that he might have held billions of dollars to these Nazis in fucking Ukraine. Yeah, maybe that happened. Some guy said he heard some guy say it to another guy who was in the room.
Wait, Nazis? You need the Ukraine?
Yeah,
So-
that's the Nazis we fucking put in power.
Okay. Here's a question for you guys. Why do you suppose Donald Trump has been so quiet on Epstein?
Because he's probably guilty.
he's probably he probably
He's
knows.
been on. He has pictures with the guy. He's been on the
Right.
plane, right?
Yeah, he was on Lolita.
He probably
Express.
just wants to let that dog
right.
lie.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
their
wh-
best interest.
He hasn't said anything about
Okay,
it.
how do you know he's been on the plane? Was he in any of the flight logs?
Yeah, one time I think he was on there. One or two times I think.
He has that quote where he's like, he likes him a little younger than I do, or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
He likes him really, really young. He said something like that.
Damn.
Yeah. So
Well, it's
he's
funny how like
implicated.
you have all these Trumpers that are like Epstein. It's like, dude, are you not like seeing the pictures of Trump with Epstein? Like,
Right.
Well, I mean, okay, so here's what I'm saying. The pictures of Trump with Epstein. I mean, dude, how many pictures can be found somewhere of Jared at a party talking to like all sorts of people?
I mean, sure.
Yeah,
I mean, probably none of them are Epstein.
No, no. Here's my point, dude. You end up at parties and you end up like
I'm not saying-
talking to people
okay,
that
look.
you don't know. You can't vouch for everybody that you've talked
But
to.
he was
at a
obviously
party.
been on the Lolita Express. We've already.
It's
But-
personally, I haven't seen the log for that.
Donald
you know,
Trump-
I'm just asking. I
Donald
don't
Trump's
know.
right.
I won't claim either way.
No, I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm not saying that being in a picture with somebody makes you guilty. I mean, how many actors were in pictures with Weinstein? You know, they're not all like rapists.
Well.
No,
Well,
yeah,
about that.
I don't know.
no, yeah, and you know,
But you know, just
well,
being in
yeah.
a picture with somebody doesn't make you guilty of anything.
Exactly. That's kind of my point.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I just meant that. I was just saying that. I didn't mean specifically the picture. I meant being in a friend with the guy, apparently being on the Lolita Express, whatever. clearly you don't. Clearly, if you're a Trump supporter, you're probably don't want that information getting out there unless you're like, oh, that's nonsense, denial. That's the mainstream media. Blah, blah, blah.
Well, I think the other thing of it too is I think it was either in like 2005 or 2011, I forget, but Trump actually banned him from his resort.
That's what I was gonna say.
And it was for some sort of like it was for court documents actually poured out that it was for sexual assault.
Okay, I mean if that's the case,
or alleged claim or something like that, and he banned him from all of his resorts.
Yeah, so Trump banned him like way far back. He was woke to the fact that Epstein was a creepy person, supposedly.
Right. Yeah, I mean I'm much given that and
according
given
to court documents.
Right, and given the impression I've gotten, I'm less likely to think Trump was that involved with any of that. I mean, as contrasted with Bill Clinton, who apparently was on there like 27 times.
Yep.
I mean, something happened. 27 times. I mean,
he banged some fucking half.
I think it was who was I listening to?
12-year-old.
Who was I listening to? I think it was like Rogan or something. And whoever the guest was like, I haven't even been on a plane with my mom 27 times. I think it might have been Rogan who said that. He's like, I haven't even been on a plane with my mom 27 times. Like, let alone like some guy that's like fucking shady as fuck. Like Epstein.
Some billionaire who no one knows how he got all of his money, but somehow gets all these rich people to come to his island and like bang all these chicks. I don't know. It's shady as fuck, and of course, you're never gonna know the truth. It's never gonna come out. It's never gonna come to light. And the memes are dying down now, so I think that's officially over.
It had a good run.
It did. Who knows? It might come back.
It's like Trash Dove, you just post it every now and again.
Right.
Trash Dove?
Yeah, remember Trash Dove memes?
Yeah, dude, I haven't seen Trash Dove in a long time.
Yeah. I like to throw a Trash Dove in every now and again.
Yeah.
As a throwback.
Just like Pepe. Pepe's mostly gone.
Yeah.
Except for in the alt-right circles.
Right.
Dude,
poor Pepe.
All
right. So moving on. So yeah, there was a recent school shooting in California.
Yep.
But strangely, it has disappeared from the media.
So strange. Imagine that.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. It might have something to do with the fact that the guy was not white, 100% white, who did the shooting.
He was what, of Asian descent?
He was half Japanese.
Okay.
And,
what gun did he use?
It wasn't an AR-15.
No, not
it was just a handgun.
Just a handgun.
He was illegally using because he wasn't 21, and it didn't have an extended magazine. And nobody died.
No, two people died.
Oh, that's right. 2 kids died. He was one of them, right? He was the.
I thought it was 2 other ones, but I could be wrong.
I thought it was 2 other ones.
I thought he eventually died of his.
He did.
injuries. Yeah.
But so I think that's 3.
So and it happened within like 16 seconds. He just started shooting people with a handgun, and then it was over.
Yeah, he shot 5 or 6 people, and then shot himself in the head.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who did he shoot? Was it bullies or was it just 5 or 6 random people?
It was random classmates.
So,
yeah,
it's fucked up. It's terrible. It's awful. But
yeah,
if this was a white guy who said, "I hate black people," went to a school and started shooting up people with a long rifle or scary looking assault rifle, we would be talking about this right now and then probably at the same time talking about it next month, and it would lead to some type of legislation. And it's you just knew it wasn't gonna last. I knew everyone kept saying, like, as soon as I heard it was a non-white shooter, I was like, all right, there you go. No one's gonna talk about this.
Right.
Yeah, the one they want is the radicalized by ideology, far right.
Yeah, the guy who has like Ben Shapiro videos on his YouTube history.
Ben Shapiro.
Dude, I'm serious.
Radicalized by Ben
Like they were
Shapiro.
trying to say the one dude that like went in and like killed all the Muslims.
Yeah.
They were trying to say like he was like watching like Ben Shapiro videos and was like radicalized by
He was
Ben
a Trump
Shapiro.
supporter. He was definitely a Trump supporter.
It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. And it's in California, man. That there was in a gun-free zone in California.
Imagine
How
that.
did he get a gun?
Dude. Well, they were also trying to say he got it from Arizona, but you can't. He was still underage to Biden in Arizona too.
Right.
So like,
So what? And he brought it across state lines. Like he committed all sorts of laws that were put in place to allegedly stop this from happening, and it happened.
They always, I love to use the drug war as an example of gun prohibition not working. It's like if you banned drugs and you look how prevalent drugs are in society, like you would have the same thing with guns. Just because you outlaw something doesn't mean it goes away. You know, it's a small metallic device.
I mean, you
it's
would
not
have
that
to,
hard to
right.
produce one.
Right. Well,
You know?
yeah. I mean, what you could do is, I mean, there's no way you can get rid of all of them, right? Unless you go door to door confiscating them, right?
Even then,
So
you're not going to get rid of all of them.
Well, you're not going to get all of them. Yeah, not the
Yeah.
ones that we lost in a boating accident.
Yeah, you could just say, I don't have one, or it's gone, or whatever.
So the only other option for them, realistically, would be to ban the production of guns,
which
would take like
20,
30 years before like you can't, all the guns that are out there kind of get too old to use or like aren't maintained well enough, blah, blah, blah.
I recently heard there was a precedent for this set back, and it's
maybe more than 20, 30 years, maybe like 50, 60 years.
You can set a date and say you're no longer allowed to manufacture or purchase or transfer any gun gun ownership to anyone.
Right.
So guns are still legal, but you just can't buy any.
Right.
And you can't sell any.
Right.
That's fucked. Like that, or like
that's the way they.
Huge. That's what the way this is gonna come about. I really think.
Well, that's the only way it's gonna work. Honestly, is like. That's the only way it's going to work. Is
yeah,
if
they were talking about
that.
it, like,
but
the same.
But then you have, but I don't know. You have like I've been following all these like 3D gun printing accounts on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
The shit seems like it's coming along. I mean,
I hope it is.
It's not, it's not mainstream, right? It's like Bitcoin. Like not everybody owns Bitcoin, and not everybody owns a 3D printer. I don't think anybody here owns a 3D printer.
I don't.
But soon
on camera.
Yeah, but soon it's going to be. I think it's going to be the next like personal computer. Where you're, it's just going to be
so awesome.
The price will come down.
The price is going to come down.
Yeah,
it's not going to be cost prohibitive. You just buy like a container of plastic.
They'll ban
and you just
3D
download
printers before you guys even get a chance to get a hold of them.
I mean,
I don't know about that.
They'll ban them. Don't worry.
I don't know if they. I don't know, man. Because I don't know. Maybe
because they say the word ghost gun. Scary ghost gun. Ooh.
Well, I don't. How effective are those guns? Because they're made out
That's
of
what
plastic.
I'm saying. Well, no, but I've seen.
It?
They're coming along. They're coming along.
Well, yeah,
They're
right now.
along.
But I mean, yeah.
But yeah, the ones that the ones that are more common are. But there's people that are really working at, just figuring out how to make them, just better guns. And I mean, it's just inevitable. It's gonna happen. So yeah, I mean, you can start banning. They could ban the production of guns. They could ban the sale of guns. I mean, obviously, that's not going to stop black market sales, right?
Of course.
It's going to create a black market.
Well, yeah, it's going to increase the black market, for sure. But yeah, I mean, they could stop. They could probably stop or put a brief stopgap on the proliferation of guns. But like I'm saying, that once this technology takes off, you're just going to be able to manufacture this shit at your house. It's like. How hard is it to like make a knife out of something?
Yeah, you've got homemade explosives. I mean, that one guy,
how hard is it to make homemade explosives?
The guy that was it McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bombing,
fertilizer.
I mean, he killed like 180
all of
people
his other
or something.
FBI undercover informants that committed that crime.
Well,
oh, Jesus, you got the docs on this, dude.
Yeah, there's plenty of docs out there saying he was in a car full of people, and they all saw him, and they were all allegedly undercover informants for the FBI. There's a thousand documents.
But what did the Oklahoma bombing allow for?
What do you mean?
A ton of anti-terrorism spending from various government agencies grew tremendously.
Okay, sure, all right. Fair
no.
enough.
Literally, there was guys that were put in place who were at the same facility McVeigh was at during like these compounds and stuff, and they were all undercover informants, and they were there, and there were people in the car. There was like 2 or 3 people that were in the same car. Witnesses put them there. Media reports put them there. Documents, like just everything. Put these guys there, and then magically they just wanted to pin it all on Sean McVeigh. It was